We're now looking into the area from the front of the vehicle looking down to where your radiator sits, and if you look here in the corners, you'll see those holes there. There are posts on the bottom of your radiator that will rest inside those holes, and so when you put it back in, you want to make sure that you line those back up with those holes that you see down in here. Now I wiped that off a little bit, so now we're ready to go ahead and start putting our radiator back in. So let's talk about your new radiator a bit. Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, I have to tell you, I'm actually not replacing the motor in this van. This radiator hasn't been leaking. I just wanted to be able to shoot this video for y'all and provide you with some instruction as to how to do this yourself. So I'm actually going to be putting the one I took out back into the van. This was only for purposes of demonstration, if you will, for today. However, when you get your radiator, every one that I've ever had is going to have a metal plate that rests here across the top, and it will bolt in on this end, and it'll have two bolts on this end. And usually it'll have two posts that stick up, say about right in here. That would be for a different application than what you're going to be doing here today. So all you do is take those two bolts out on this end and then on this end and remove that rail, and then you're ready to go. Now what the other thing is your new radiator will come with these clips that go in the bottom, and you'll want to reinstall those. What this is for is your fan rests down inside of those, so you're definitely going to want to be able to do that. Now these here, this kind of gives you a better idea since we maybe have it here kind of off to the side. Let's see if I can't set this up here. But now you can see these here are the hooks that your fan's going to rest in. This here is where your bolts will go. Now a lot of times your new radiator is not going to come with these little clips that have the threads in them, so you're going to have to transfer those over. So you'll need to put these in, and you'll need to put these in. Over here is the drain valve that we had that I showed you, and so that's where we drained it. Now if we flip it back over here to this side, I can show you. This here is that plate I was telling you about that's on there, and basically it just pushes down and there's some tabs on there and it locks into place. Now those of you who have watched enough of my videos know that I'm just too type A to let the one that was missing on this side go. So I ran out real quick after our last session there, and I went out and bought one of those tabs that goes here on the side, and this is what it looks like. And now you'll see what I mean. That has these holes here, and this goes over those lines for your AC condenser. Now quite frankly, this part here is going to give you some fits getting this line back up, getting it over the condenser and getting it put into place, which quite frankly is why I suspect that this radiator, and this is a replacement radiator, did not have it on this side. Is whoever did this radiator change out just got tired of fighting with it and just left it off because it makes the job so much easier. However, we want to do our installation correctly, and so we're going to go ahead and put that on now. And basically it'll just slide over the tabs that you have on there, and it just locks into position, and it'll push on, and then you'll just go ahead and reinstall it. So we have those on, and now we just line up here in the middle, and it just locks in just like that. And now it's ready to be installed. So as you do it, you want to make sure your AC condenser lines will go through here, and it has this cut here on the side so you can fit those lines through there. But quite frankly, this part right here is going to give you some fits taking it out and putting it back in. So that's something I want you to be aware of. Other than that, it's pretty simple. You have your radiator out, make sure and put these two tabs back on. Now it's time, let's go ahead and put the radiator back in the van, start buttoning everything back up. Now in your case, you're putting in your new radiator. So we're going to go ahead, and just like we took it out, we're just going to start to set it in, and it kind of goes in at an angle here. And if you remember what I said, this side over here on the passenger side is what's going to give you the most fits. So you're just going to have to be patient. You don't want to force something like this and damage your radiator or break a line or something of that nature. You just want to take your time, work it down in there. And these condensers are definitely the biggest pain of the whole project. So there we go, we're working in that way. Now we're just going to start working in on this side. Nice and easy, there we go. I'm going to get my overflow hose out of the way that's kind of got cotton in there. Also, the other thing you want to watch out, and I've had that happen to me before too, is the wiring harness that's for your fan on this side. Make sure it stays tucked up out of the way so you don't get it caught in there. So now we're just going down nice and even, and what I always do is I'll kind of fold these tabs, these rubber tabs, back until we get it down into position, and then they can come back out again. So this side's going down good. This side over here is going down okay, and we'll just work it back and forth. Nice and easy. No need to go crazy. We don't want to break anything. Now I'm going to go ahead and start putting my condenser lines through that tab that you saw before, and we are through over here on this side. So now what we need to do is get this side down into position, and then we'll be ready to go. And just like that, we are back down. So now the first thing you want to do is set those posts on the bottom of your radiator into the holes in that frame so that your radiator is sitting properly. Once you do that, then you'll go ahead and put the condenser back in its position as well. And you'll feel the radiator just like that. Now it's sitting back where it should be. Now for our condenser, what I find easiest is I'll reach down below and kind of lift up on it and set that bottom peg, if you will, inside that tab, just like so. And I'll come over here and do the same thing. And the funny thing is, that's where these tabs kind of get in the way, because they're going to fight you. And now it finally went into position. So that's where we need it. Everything's good there. Now, once you have that done, you're just going to push in on these tabs that are here on the side that interlock between your condenser and your radiator, just so it locks them into place. And there we go. And there we go. So now that we have that all done, we have our condenser back in position, we have our radiator back in. I'll start at the bottom and work my way up. So now what we're going to do is reconnect our lower radiator hose and then put our retention clamp back on. Now that we have our lower radiator hose installed and we've gone ahead and put our retention clamp back on, we can now go ahead and put our fan back into position here. And basically, same as just the reverse as the way you took it out, we're just going to slide it back down in here nice and easy. And it's certainly easier to get it by here without that upper radiator hose. And as you do it, make sure you keep an eye down below that the little feet go into those grooves on the bottom and lock into position. So I got that side lined up. I'll keep an eye over here, and I have that side lined up, and then what you'll do is just kind of push down. Sometimes give it a tap if you need to, but this is now locked into position and it's ready to go. So we're going to go ahead. I have my 2 bolts. Don't forget, these are the 10 millimeters. We're going to go ahead and put the bolts in here on the side and secure our fan. Now before I go and grab my ratchet, just for fun, since we're here, I'm going to go ahead and take our electrical connections. Here's the one for this side. Don't forget they have that red retaining clip, so once you push it on, push that clip back. But I'm going to go ahead and put those back on the fan. Lock in those clips. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. This side over here on the passenger side is just a little bit tougher because you're dealing with your alternator and your AC compressor. Kind of just takes away a lot of your space. And there we have it. So we have those in position. Now we can also go ahead and run our overflow bottle tube back up. Run that into the radiator. Now we can go ahead and reattach our upper radiator hose. Push that all the way down till it seats up against the stop on the neck, and then put your retention clamp back on. Just like so. I should have grabbed my larger pair of channel locks, but you know, these were close. And I always try and put them back in the same position that I took them off. And so we're looking good there. So we have everything connected up here. We have our fans installed. We have the radiator back in position. So now we're ready for you to go ahead and start putting your covers back on. So before I do that, I need to go ahead and put our bumper cover back on so I can show you that part. Before I put the bumper cover back on, I wanted to just give you one more up close so you can just see how things go back together here. You'll see we have everything back in here. We have our tabs right in here that are back interlocked. We have our rubber tab here that's on the side. It's more or less, it's a splash shield, but we have that in position. If we look down below, we have the foot of our condenser is in where it should be. That's a better up close shot there. And let's just move over here to the driver's side. Now you can get a better idea. There's that splash shield with your AC condenser lines. So we have our top tab up here is lined up, our condensers in it, as well as our splash shield. It's put through there. If we look down below in here, hopefully we can get a light. There we go. We have our bottom foot for our condenser is locked into its place, and our splash shield is completely installed. So that's what you're looking at in the event you don't take off your bumper cover, of what you're going to have to be able to do this job properly. I'm going to go ahead now and put our bumper cover back on. I have to apologize. I forgot to show you one thing while you were putting your fan in, and that is, don't forget this little shield that goes up on top, and it's cut out. So basically these little openings go around these indentations here, and it just goes like right into here. Then you can set your fan into place like so. And that helps hold it in with that shield. It just keeps the air inside there for your radiator. I apologize, I forgot to show you that as I was doing it, but I wanted to go back and show that to you now. My bumper put back on, now we're ready to get back to where you are. So the next step we're going to do is put our radiator support bracket back on. And so we just have this here, and I'll bring it back over here, and you'll just kind of line it up. Once again, keeping these tabs, you'll line those up with the tabs in the top of your radiator so it holds it in position, just like that. Once you do that, you'll go ahead and put your 4 bolts back in. And naturally, to start with, you're just going to do them by hand until you get all 4 of them kind of going. Then you can go in and tighten them down. Now, neither one of the manuals that I have for these vans has ever provided me with a torque spec, and I've done quite a bit of searching on it. So my general rule of thumb that I have always followed with these, and it's worked out well, is I will tighten these down and get them to where they're snug, and then I do a 1/4 of a turn. Just like that. Now our radiator support bracket has been secured. The other thing you're going to want to do while you're over here, and let me just move the camera just a little bit, is don't forget that these lines here that support your cable, you want to go ahead and push those back in. Just like so. So now we have that all reconnected and everything's in position. Now we can go ahead and put our cover back on here, and then your job should be finished. Almost, not quite, stick with me. So we have our cover, and putting it back in is going to be just the opposite of the way we took it out. So we're going to start by trying to get it up underneath our hood release lever here, and you'll just kind of work it up just like that. Once you get it on there, I'll just start over here, and now I'll tuck it back up underneath my bumper cover, come back over here, same thing, and there we go, just like that. Now to start trying to get things lined up and put in position where they should be, I'll just keep an eye on these bolts and where these holes line up. But first what I'll do is I'll do the plastic tabs, because those really help line it up. And I'll just look inside of there, push that tab back down in there. Once you get it in there, just push it in, just like that, and you're realigned. I'll do the same thing over here. And what that does is that aligns our bumper cover now with this cover here. Now the next thing I'll do is I'll go through and put these 5 screws back in. Last but not least is going to be putting our 2 bolts back in position, and they go here on the sides. Once again, these here are a 10 millimeter. And I'll just start those by hand and just make sure I'm threading them in properly. And then I'll go back in and hit them with my Milwaukee. I will say with these, it's important that you just do them to where they're snug. What a lot of people do is they'll over tighten these, and then what it does is it splits your bumper cover like right in through here. So you always want to make sure that you just do those to where it's snugged up nice on there and it just holds it in position. Just like that. So now, having said that, you have your radiator changed out. Don't forget, now you need to go back in, top off your coolant with nice new fresh coolant, get your mix done right on there, and you should be good to go. Hey, I hope this video has been helpful to you to get your radiator changed out. If it has, do me a favor, hit that like button for me. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.